The Outback is a place of stunning beauty, but it's also a place of unforgiving isolation. In August 1980, at the foot of Uluru, a young family's life was shattered when their 9-week-old baby, Azaria Chamberlain, vanished from their tent. The mother, Lindy Chamberlain, told police that she saw a dingo, a wild Australian dog, leaving the area. But instead of sympathy, she was met with suspicion. And 2 years later, she was convicted of murder. This is the true story of how media frenzy, junk science, and cultural bias led to one of the most infamous wrongful convictions in Australian history. This is False Witness, and today we're uncovering the Lindy Chamberlain case. Lindy and Michael Chamberlain were a devout Seventh-day Adventist couple living in Mount Isa, Queensland. Michael was a pastor. Lindy was a full-time mother. They had 3 children, Aiden, Reagan, and baby Azaria, who was born just 9 weeks before their fateful trip to Uluru, then known as Ayers Rock. It was a camping trip, nothing more. A chance to show their kids the iconic landscape and spend some time together as a family. They stayed at a public campground near the base of the rock. On the evening of August 17, 1980, they cooked dinner with other campers nearby. Azaria, dressed in a black and red jumpsuit, was placed in the family tent to sleep. Just minutes later, Lindy returned to check on her daughter and noticed that the tent flap was open. Then she saw something moving in the dark. "The dingoes got my baby," she screamed. Campers and rangers began searching immediately. A torn, blood-stained blanket, dingo tracks, and drag marks were found, but Azaria was gone. At first, the event was treated as a wildlife tragedy. But behind closed doors, the Northern Territory Police were suspicious. Why would a dingo take a baby? Why didn't Lindy cry? Why did she seem so calm? The Australian media ran with these questions. They focused on Lindy's appearance, her religion, her clothing, her supposed lack of grief. Tabloids questioned the baby's name, Azaria, spreading the false rumor that it meant sacrifice in the wilderness. It doesn't. It actually means help by God. People even accused Lindy of being part of a cult that killed babies. No evidence, just gossip. A forensic scientist claimed to have found fetal blood in the Chamberlain's car, along with what he said were scissor cuts on the baby's jumpsuit. Signs, he claimed, of a staged murder. By 1982, police had built a full-blown murder case against Lindy. Lindy Chamberlain was charged with murder. Michael Chamberlain was charged as an accessory after the fact. The trial gripped the nation. But this wasn't a fair trial. It was a media circus. The prosecution argued that Lindy slit her baby's throat in the family car, then disposed of the body, all while pretending a dingo took her baby. Their case relied entirely on flawed forensic evidence. Blood in the car was sound-deadening spray. The scissor cuts were fabric tears from a dingo's teeth. And the jacket Lindy said Azaria was wearing, police said it never existed. The Chamberlains had no motive, no history of abuse, no prior crimes, and yet the jury convicted her. In October 1982, Lindy was sentenced to life in prison. Michael received an 18-month suspended sentence. Their daughter was gone. Now so was their freedom. While in prison, Lindy gave birth to her 4th child, Kalia. She was allowed to breastfeed for a few hours before being separated. But in 1986, 4 years into her sentence, the case suddenly took a dramatic turn. A British tourist named David Brett fell to his death while hiking near Uluru. During the recovery effort, police found something wedged deep in a dingo den. It was a baby's matinee jacket. The very jacket Lindy had described Azaria wearing the night she vanished. Police had said that jacket never existed. Now it was physical proof. Combined with growing doubts over the forensics, the government had no choice. Lindy Chamberlain was released. Her conviction was eventually quashed, but the stain of guilt remained in the public eye. It wasn't until 2012, over 3 decades later, that a coroner formally ruled that Azaria had been killed by a dingo. The Chamberlains were awarded $1.3 million in compensation in 1992, far less than what they spent on legal fees. Lindy gave multiple interviews over the years, published a book, and even participated in documentaries. She said she forgave the public, but she never forgot. The psychological damage, the humiliation, the years lost, can never be returned. The Chamberlain case is now taught in law schools as a landmark example of confirmation bias, media interference, and the danger of ignoring reasonable doubt. We now know dingo attacks were more common than believed. Forensic evidence can be misinterpreted. A mother's personality does not determine guilt. And when the media turns someone into a villain, the truth can be buried under public opinion. Lindy Chamberlain was not a murderer. She was a grieving mother, blamed for a tragedy no one wanted to believe. The dingo took my baby became a joke, but it was never funny. It was a warning that when justice goes blind, the innocent suffer.